how do you get stuff done when you're pulled in 10 different directions and maybe you've got family demands and you just have a lot on your plate and you're feeling overwhelmed? That's exactly what we're talking today in this episode. You're listening to Mindful Manifesting, and this is Ariana Rollins. I've got a really special episode for you, and I'm going to put in the show notes a new, upgraded, it's a freebie, and it's Get Out of Overwhelm and Get Stuff Done in 7 Simple Steps. I'm going to give you the highlights here because it's a really good process and something after being self-employed for, oh my gosh, definitely over 20 years, I still do to this day. And I've had feedback from my students when they've implemented these steps, they get to peacefulness. So let's dive in. Okay, let's first start and define what overwhelm feels like for you, or maybe what triggers overwhelm for you. Is it you've got your day planned and you know exactly what you're going to do, and then your son or daughter or husband or wife comes in and said, "Hey, Mom," or "Honey, can you do this?" And you're like, it's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. You had everything so perfectly orchestrated or timed. Or is it that you tend to say yes to things before looking at your schedule? I was notorious for that. And then I'd look and I had 7 calls scheduled, and then I had to do a podcast, do the newsletter, do social media. I was like, what was I thinking? Or is it something that you've got something really big, a big project or something that's really driving you, maybe a book that is in you and you want to write, and you haven't gotten to it. You've got the idea written down, but it's like everything else just takes precedence in your life. So knowing what triggers your overwhelm can be really helpful. So if you push past and you're like, I'm going to get it done anyway, we've talked about in prior episodes how that can actually create blockers, create patterns and habits that override your natural instincts and override your ability to be present with yourself, your family, and also be present in your work. Because if we are overriding our natural instinct to slow down or say no, we actually are triggering our stress response, and it triggers cortisol. And cortisol is one of those hormones that helps us, it's pushed out by the adrenal glands, helps us get through maybe a challenge, like a fight or flight situation. We're driving our car and someone pulls in front of us and we have to put on the brakes. Nothing wrong with that. We have that cortisol for a purpose, and it helps like put us into 5th gear to get something done or to get out of danger. But most of us live our lives relying on that adrenaline, relying on that cortisol to get us through things. And that's what's dangerous. And that's why I'm talking about this really important subject of overwhelm. Because when we ignore overwhelm, it makes things worse. Like attracts like. So life will deliver more things for us to feel overwhelmed by. Feeling overwhelmed is a message, and it's a severe message, a strong message from your unconscious mind, but not to scare you. But studies have shown that the most common time for a heart attack to occur is Monday mornings. I'm sure you can surmise why. So overwhelm is communicating something's wrong. You realize that, but you may not know what's wrong or what to do. So I want to go into how you can start to recognize it and start to manage it. And sadly, as I mentioned, overwhelm can become a habit. Anything we repetitively do can become a habit, especially if it gives us a positive outcome, like burning the midnight oil. Like if you put off a task and you wait until the last minute and you produce it, you're pleased, you produced it, and you get this feedback loop like, yeah, I do well doing things on the last minute. But what happens is that our brain isn't designed to be under such pressure, and it doesn't solve problems effectively. We need to be in a more peaceful, calm place to tap into our higher reasoning brain to solve problems and handle challenging life situations, to make good decisions. All right, so let me look at my notes here real quick. I want to share a couple tips before we get into it. This is really important to know. Even if you've got the habit of overwhelm, you say yes too easily, you don't look at your calendar first, or you burn the midnight oil, and that's just a technique or strategy to get things done because you know it works, that there's hope, because you can retrain your brain away from the habit of overwhelm, which overwhelm is often a result of feeling frustrated, angry, or worried. You can learn new coping mechanisms for when stress arises, because the mind in its natural state is always calm and it's free of agitation. And that's the best place to create from. That's the best place to perform in our work. Now, most people recognize that calm state when they're meditating or relaxing on vacation, or maybe when you wake up first thing in the morning, or maybe not. Maybe you've got this feeling of pressure as soon as you open your eyes. That's terrible. It's a terrible state to live in, isn't it? But most of us do it. So the first action step is to stop resisting the anxious feelings and worries and push through it anyway. Because anything we resist persists. And worry and fear and frustration's persuasive. It tries to convince us that fear is true and real and we have to attend to it right now, or, terrible things are going to happen. So let's talk about, there are 7 little tips you can incorporate right now in your life to turn down the dial of those overwhelming feelings. All right. Let's talk about these 7 tips. And again, I tell you, I still use them. So get some perspective. I'm going to say what they are before we go into detail. Claim your workspace, number 2. 3, music calms the savage beast inside our brain. 4, choose your confidants wisely. 5, gain control of the demands of email. 6, minimize negativity in the media. And 7, eliminate unnecessary commitments. So I don't know if I'm going to go into detail in all of them, but I will invite you to get your free download. I'll put the notes in the show notes. I'll put it in the show notes. Or you could go to highertrueself.com and go to our everything page, and you will find it there. Get some perspective. Now, this is where you want to recognize the beginning signs of feeling overwhelmed before you go into a full-blown attack where you can't even think. Okay. Stepping away from the point of pressure is essential to gain a healthy focus. Now, one of the tips is get that perspective. Step away from the computer, walk out of your house, take your shoes off, obviously if it's warm, put your feet on grass or stand in shallow water. I tell you, I've done this. I put a little water in the bathtub, put my feet in it, and it has a way of pulling out the frustration and the energies that are spinning around my body, and I can get centered. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing in and out for just a few minutes. Because getting into nature, whether it's water in your bathtub or out in the grass, will restore your balance and confidence. And at first, if you're like most people, you're going to think, I don't have time to do this. Know that and do it anyway. All right. 2, claim your workspace. Before you start a new task, before you start something, clear your physical desk space. Maybe it's even just gathering your papers up, putting it on the kitchen table so that you have a clear desk space. Your unconscious mind registers everything in your environment, even items in your desk drawers and closets. It tracks all your belongings, and when it's in disorder, you feel the disorder, and that contributes to overwhelm. You can even think about clearing your desktop on your computer, dumping things out of your desktop, put it where they need to go. And so when you turn your computer on, you're not faced with all this pending stuff. 3, music calms the savage beast inside our brain. I've read that ancient world-class sculptors hired young people to hum or sing while they worked. It inspired peacefulness, and it helped them get that creative flow going. Well, you can borrow that wisdom by playing low-volume, relaxing nature music. Nothing with words. And there are wonderful YouTube channels like Yellow Brick Cinema, and you can just have the music running in the background. I tell you, this was a lifesaver when I was finishing taxes last weekend, because we had to file in the United States on the 15th of April. And I was close. I was about 70% done. And you always underestimate how much time it's going to take to complete things. And so I said, okay, get the music on, Ariana, pick one. And there's even ADHD music out there, YouTube channels. So find something, because it's going to train your brain to be occupied with the relaxing music. And it's going to allow your conscious mind to focus creatively on whatever you've got to do. Really helpful. 4, choose your confidants wisely. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this, because there's actually a little exercise in the freebie, Get Out of Overwhelm, that you can download with really good questions. So we've all been there. We've got something we need to talk about. Maybe we're troubled about a conversation with a coworker or a teammate if you're self-employed, or a loved one. And it just keeps niggling around. Or maybe that your business isn't going as well as you'd like. Your income isn't as high, and you're struggling with the marketing. Well, we all need to talk things out, because a lot of times we will get to clarity just by talking things out with someone. We're hearing ourselves, hearing our thoughts. So we need to do that. But here's the thing, and I learned this way too late in life, is I would go to my most intelligent, wise, genius friend to talk out problems in my business. A marketing thing did not go well. I wasn't getting signups for a program. And this friend was extremely committed to my success. And I loved that about him. He was great. Well, what would happen is I would dump all the emotions out, all my worries. And I could see, the brain, like the cogwheels ticking over in his brain. And all of a sudden, he said, this is what you got to do. And he would go boom, boom, boom. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I was needing to decompress, and I wasn't asking for you to fix it for me. Well, a lot of men commonly like to fix problems. And I love that about men. I love that. And then the thing that he did that was so heart-wrenching is sometimes I would do this while we're chatting on the phone. I would take long drives, and I would call him up and say, hey, do you have a moment? Can we talk? And he said, sure. We'd spend hours on the phone. He'd hang the phone up. He says, you don't want to listen to my solution? And now I'm feeling really terrible, because now I've got the worries of whatever it was that was causing me to reach out to him. And now he's upset with me. Worse yet, if you're self-employed and you're kind of in the younger generation, and maybe your family has been a little not supportive of you being self-employed, like when I started. Maybe they want you to get a full-time job. You got retirement, you got benefits. And if you talk to a family member about your income challenges, they likely are going to add to your stress. They're going to be worried about what's going on and what are you going to do and how are you going to solve the problem. And they're going to go to that quick fix. Honey, just get a job. Yeah, gosh, you could make more money. You could relax. And you know what? It's taken a toll on your health. You're telling me you're not sleeping, right? So now you walk away from that conversation feeling even more worried, right? Because now they're like, yeah, I haven't been sleeping. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's affecting my health. So choose your confidants wisely. I'm not going to go into all the detail because I really want you to ask these questions. Number 5, gain control of the demands of email. I know this is not new. But if you take 15 minutes now and unsubscribe from old newsletters and email lists, don't give it a second thought, because you know it will come back to you if you're meant to have that content or work with that person. Anything else is clutter to your unconscious mind. If you go into your email and you've got I don't know, 5,000 emails unread or saved because you think you'll get back to them. Just know this, you will get a peacefulness that's unsurpassed by unsubscribing and having less popping into your email inbox. All right, number 6, minimize negativity in the media. Most people realize that watching news right before bed can disturb sleep. Maybe you have actually stopped watching news, good for you, or reading the newspaper. So what can happen in social media on your Facebook feed? Well, somebody, a friend of yours, could be posting something that they're troubled about, worried about. I have still one image in my mind, and I'm not even going to try explain it to you because it was so terrible that I can't eliminate it. And those are the things, my friend, that create overwhelming feelings and worry and fear. And we have to guard our space, our mental space, really, really well. So eliminate them. Eliminate. And if the friend keeps posting those things, I have stopped being friends with people because my social media feed is something I like to read. I like to connect with friends. What are they up to? They've got good things to contribute. And so anybody who's giving me things that are going to cause me more worry, more overwhelming feelings, nope, they're not my friend. So unsubscribe for email and obviously watching the news or listening to the radio. All right, number 7, eliminate unnecessary commitments. And this is the last one. Overwhelm is real, and there are people in situations that demand our attention and energy. Could be your clients, it could be your boss, it could be your children, your partner. And when our life is full of obligations and demanding relationships, it can feel near impossible to have the peace of mind and energy to focus on the tasks right in front of us. And if you're sensitive, it's really even harder. I remember when I originally wrote this first document, these 7 tips, I did it because I was living with someone who I loved him dearly, but he was someone with a lot of mental broadcast. I'm sensitive and I could feel when he was thinking about something, worried about something, or if he was angry, oh my gosh, his emotions would broadcast. Well, I couldn't think, I couldn't focus, which is why I created these 7 tips. And they helped me incredibly, so much so that I would put headphones on, listen to music, because just music coming from the speakers, I could still hear him if he was on a client call or something and he was angry. So eliminate unnecessary commitments. When we've got people in our life who drain us, be aware that creates overwhelming feelings and they're constantly in the background. So there's a little exercise here. Take your life back. Commitment reflection exercise, which is right in the document. It's fantastic. I actually loved it so much. I created a version of it and put it in one of my programs, and it's called True Self Relationship Inventory. I've made really important life-changing choices based on that document. So this is an earlier version of it. I think you'll love it. And I think we're going to start to wrap up. Oh, this was so good. I am really keen to share this with you. And if you download it and you start doing some of these tips, I would love to hear how it's helped you focus and get out of overwhelm, because overwhelm left unchecked is something that can really destroy our health, destroy relationships. And if you're self-employed, it can destroy your income because you don't know what to focus on. You don't know what's the most important thing, and you're not going to know what's going to make you money. You're not going to know what to let go of, and you could have 10 projects you're trying to move forward and none of them are getting done. Super, super important. Let's address this together. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll put the show notes in. So get out of overwhelm and get stuff done in 7 simple steps. And tell me which tip you like best. Thank you so much for listening. And as we wind up, remember, as you confirm yourself, you chart your own path to success. So much love. And thanks for listening. Bye for now.